seems like we're up and running, so I'm just going to kick this thing off, and I want to say a very warm welcome to Martin, who's joining us today from Bali, Indonesia, living the dream. He's the founder of the Effective Marketing Company, and he'll be sharing some of his insights around lead generation, what a lead actually is and where they come from, and how we can implement great lead generation tactics and strategies in our businesses. So thanks for joining me, Martin. I want to start off by asking a little bit about who you are and what you actually do.
Okay, thank you for having me. Well, my name is Martin Henley. I did found the Effective Marketing Company. That happened all the way back in 2005. Before that, I worked in sales. So I had 10 years sales experience. And the rationale behind starting the Effective Marketing Company was that I'd seen in my career that the marketing people had all of the budget and none of the target, while the salespeople had all of the target and none of the budget. So when I came to set up my business, I thought I'm going to start a marketing company. Of course, I understand the world a little bit differently now. So yeah, 10 years in sales, 9 years running the Effective Marketing Company as a proper business. And then I kind of went on the run in 2014. So what I do right now is I manage a few clients and I live the dream. Thanks for reminding me. I'm here in Bali living the dream.
I can imagine there's some worse places to be right now. So yeah, why not? Why not Bali?
Yeah, well, Bali is absolutely the easiest place in the world to be. So if anyone's considering it, just do it. The people are amazing. The weather is amazing. The surf is amazing. Bali is amazing. So I would thoroughly recommend moving to Bali, although you can't get in right now because of the,
exactly.
the crisis.
Give it a few months.
Yes.
Brilliant. Well, thanks for that intro. So like we said, this session is going to be all about leads and lead generation. And what I'm really curious to hear from you is kind of how you work with clients and how you help clients generate leads, because it is a big challenge for a lot of companies and individuals. You know, I know in this group we've got both business owners and we've got marketing professionals who work in-house, who work on a consultancy basis, and they kind of face sort of, I suppose, different levels and different types of challenges when it comes to lead generation. But when you work with customers and clients, what is the most typical lead generation challenge that they face, and how do you help them overcome that?
I think the challenge for them is they don't know how to get leads, most likely. The challenge for them is that they're very engaged in their businesses, and they might have started their business because they're great at making brownies, or they know how to run a physical training class, or they're good computer programmers. But I don't think it ever really occurs to people that actually being in business is about finding, winning, and keeping customers profitably. So I think it comes as a bit of a shock to them that that's the case. Of course, if they're big businesses and they're employing marketing people, they understand that this investment is required. But I think the problem for small businesses is they don't understand marketing, they don't understand why it's required, they don't understand the value of it, and they don't understand the investment that's required to make it happen. So I think that's the big challenge for me working with them. What I do for them is I do marketing. You know, it's like there's no mystery, there's no, you know, I just do the marketing. So I'll fix up their websites, we'll do some search engine optimization, we'll do some LinkedIn, we'll do some email. I kind of have a whole of marketing approach to marketing and generating leads. That's not what I normally call it. What do I call it? I call it something else. That's gone from my mind right now. But yeah, I just make sure the marketing happens, and hey ho, that's where the leads come from, you know? So I think there's no mystery. There's no, you know, it's often positioned as like the secrets of marketing. The secret of marketing is do some marketing. You know, it really is as simple as that. And when that starts happening, it doesn't matter how bad it is. Sorry, I've got a call coming in. It doesn't matter how bad it is, it will have the effect of generating new leads. Now, the issue I have with leads, as we've discussed before, is that leads aren't the destination. You know, they are just a stop on the journey. It's like if you're going on holiday, you don't get excited about going to the, sorry, they really want to talk to me, these people.
You're a popular man.
So you don't get excited about going to the train station on the way to the airport. You don't get excited about going to the airport. You get excited about being on holiday, and leads are just a point on the journey, and the destination really is something else. It's something much bigger. If you're running your own business, really the destination should be having something that someone will write a big fat check for you for at some point in your history. And it's the same if you're a bigger business. If you're a PLC, you know, it's about your share value. So I think people get caught up at the lead stage, and it scares people, and they don't know how to do it. But really, leads are just one step on the way. And if you kind of understand that this is just the first step, then I think it becomes easier to do that. Does that answer the question?
Yes, definitely. And that's a really important point, I think, to make, that this the concept of lead generation is not necessarily the magic. It's got more to do with the entire process of how you manage the customer journey, and how you position your products overall, and how you are able to serve the needs of your customer base. I think
exactly, yes.
Like I was saying, the challenge as well being different. I'm sure you've experienced this when you work with marketers versus when you work with people who are not necessarily marketers by profession. I used to work in marketing management for many years, and was often under the pressure of generating leads. That was almost like the sole purpose of the marketing team, was to just generate more leads. And you've got the sales team over here, you've got the management over here, and they were all sort of expecting you to deliver almost like an endless supply of leads. But what happens after the handover to sales is then completely out of your control.
Yes.
It's often then kind of a debate around, and we were talking about this the other day, weren't we, that you've got these different teams sort of, they're pitted against each other. It's like sales kind of expecting the unachievable sometimes of marketing, and marketing feeling like sales aren't doing their job in the follow-up, so you're not getting the return on the leads. So it's not just about delivering the leads, it's about nurturing them and converting those leads, and doing what you need as a business to actually turn those leads into sales opportunities.
Yeah, and I think that's a failing of businesses, is that they don't understand that this is a continuum. You don't employ a marketing team to generate leads and a sales team to convert those leads into sales. You employ both of those teams to generate sales. Yeah. You know, so it can't be about the quantity of leads. And I say this in one of my videos. I didn't say that I'm producing some videos at the moment trying to cut through all this marketing BS. But the point is that really those people should be working together. And I've never worked in an organization, I've never had a client where the salespeople fully understand the value and the investment that's gone into generating leads. And I've never seen a marketing department who are particularly concerned about whether those leads convert or not, because the pressure is always to have a number of leads. And there's a guy on Facebook and YouTube, and he's an American guy, and he dresses up as a hippie sometimes. And his core message is like lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. And what he essentially says is that if you're not generating 200 leads a day, then your business will fail. Now, my point is that actually a lead is work for somebody. So if you're going to call those 200 people, that's essentially 2 days work. So for every day you're generating 200 leads, you're creating 2 days of work. So I'd rather have one lead that converts every day. If I was selling something every day, I wouldn't be able to deliver the work. Do you know what I mean? But that's what you want, is the sale. And the leads, like I say, is a point on the destination. And having more leads than you can handle. And this is what I say to people: if you don't have enough leads in your business, then you need marketing. And if you've got too many leads in your business, then you need sales. And that's exactly how it works. And the way it breaks down then is, if the salespeople don't have enough leads, then they have to go out and generate their own. They have to canvas, they have to start knocking on doors or phoning people up. And that is grossly, grossly inefficient, you know? So I think it's a failing of businesses. They don't understand that the two should work together, that they should be on the same side, and that it's basically a chronology. Chronology is first you have the lead, then you have the opportunity to sell, and then you sell. So yeah, that's one of my frustrations. I think is that salespeople will never respect a lead, and marketing don't particularly care. That's just a failing of the world.
Right, I totally get that, and getting that unity of making sure that it's a shared approach, it's a collaborative effort, rather than having
exactly,
these
yes.
two camps working sort of almost blaming each other when things when things don't go right.
Yes, and it's almost like they employ a sales team, I don't know, 4, 8, 12 people, and then marketing are then under pressure to feed those 4, 8, 12 people. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
Whereas if they said, okay, let's employ some marketing, and when we've got leads, then we'll employ salespeople to do that work. So yeah. Leads are the work of salespeople. If you don't have leads, they don't have work, which is why they get so tetchy when they don't have leads, because they start to feel not valuable.
Yeah, exactly. We had a question come in just now from John Curzon. He says, do you consider sales to be a function of marketing? What's your view on that?
No, I don't consider sales to be a function of marketing. I think that there are two very definite functions, and there's two very different types of people. So a marketing person, and I think I'm a bit weird because I am a salesperson and I am a marketing person, but typically you don't get those two skill sets. So marketing is about being able to speak to lots and lots and lots of people, and sales is about being able to speak to one person and build a relationship with one person. So I think there's two very different functions, but marketing people should understand that they are in the business of feeding the salespeople, and the salespeople should be respectful of that. And everyone should understand that a lead, wherever constitutes enough interest in your business for you to describe it as a lead, that is the opportunity for your business to be successful. So salespeople need to invest as much effort as is required to close it one way or the other. It doesn't matter if they don't want to buy it. It doesn't matter if they do want to buy. They just need to close it. So I could go on also a lot about sales, but let's keep this to leads.
One thing at a time, one challenge at a time.
One thing at a time.
So let's talk a little bit about tactics and platforms. I know you've probably explored plenty when it comes to different tactics and I know you'll probably say something like it depends, which it does, of course. But generally speaking, what sort of top 3 platforms or tactics do you kind of see working really well at the moment for business?
Most of what I do, I really don't like this question because it isn't a trick, it isn't a platform, it isn't a secret, it's just do the work. So what I talk to people about is integrated marketing. So when I start with a client, I will test all of these different things because it's all conditional on where you are and where you want to go. I'm going to answer your question. Google, obviously, is somewhere where you should be positioning your business. So if your business is positioned in Google, or you're running adverts in Google, then you'll be at the top of the search engine where everybody looks when they're going to buy things. So Google, absolutely. But that is conditional on there being search volume. If people aren't searching for your products and services, firstly, you need to have a sit down and think about how your business is if people aren't looking for the products and services you provide. But if they're not, Google isn't going to benefit you at all. I would say the second place to generate, that most effectively generate leads is email. So, every 20 minutes, someone's saying, oh, this thing has surpassed email, or that thing has surpassed email. First it was Facebook, then it was LinkedIn, then it was Twitter. That's not true at all. Like, email goes into people's inboxes and they do read it and they do remember you. And, that is a lead generator, is email. And then the third most effective place for me, because what I'm doing is B2B, is LinkedIn. So LinkedIn isn't a social media. For me, LinkedIn is a much more direct marketing tool where you are able to target really effectively your decision makers, and you are able to go straight to them and get into a conversation. So the top three for me would be Google, email, and then LinkedIn. Email, of course, is conditional on you having an email database. If you don't have an email database, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And then LinkedIn, obviously, is conditional on you knowing who it is that you want to sell to in a business-to-business context, and then having a really strong value proposition that's actually going to get people's attention. In fact, whichever platform you use, it's about having a really good targeting and a really good value proposition. I'm here today because I work with people like you achieving this for them. And if this is of interest to you, then let's have a conversation, you know?
Yeah, makes sense. So if somebody is doing various things when it comes to perhaps pay-per-click, and they're investing in their visibility, they're investing in perhaps lead magnets and putting stuff out there, how do they know, how would a company know whether they're getting a good cost per lead? Like if they're getting good value on what they're spending on their ads, for example, when it comes to Google ads and that sort of thing.
Okay, well, if you're talking about
to address.
No, it's okay. If you're talking about Google ads, then what I teach people, did I tell you I was teaching for the Digital Marketing Institute?
Oh, you mentioned that. Yeah.
Tell you that. Did I? Okay, good. So what I'm teaching people, what I tell them is Google wants your money. So you have to be really cute about the way you spend money with Google, because they're really good at taking your money. I don't think about, sometimes I do think about a cost per lead. And for me, it should be wrapped up in the bigger question of cost of customer acquisition, if you're familiar with that idea. So this is how I justify the work that I do with my clients, and I have to justify it a lot because, you know, they don't understand it, they don't value it, they don't see the necessity in it. So I have to justify what I do. And what I do is I talk to them about cost of customer acquisition. Literally, how much does it cost you to buy a customer? Because if you are getting proactive in your marketing, that is essentially what you're doing. Every customer you acquire will take a certain amount of money, a certain amount of energy, and a certain amount of time to acquire. And the sooner people start thinking about it in this way, the happier and more successful they will be, for sure. Now, when you think about cost of customer acquisition, you need to understand that they do surveys, and typically businesses are spending around 11% on marketing. The top 500 spend around 13%. If you add that to the cost of sales, that's buying cars and laptops and putting petrol in those cars and employing salespeople, that very quickly gets to about 30% of turnover. And people aren't registering this. So if your cost of sale is 30% and your margin is 20%, essentially every time you sell something, you are selling yourself out of business. So if you do this calculation, and you can do this on a cigarette packet in a pitch, how much do you spend on sales? How much do you spend on marketing? How many customers you're generating in a year? And you divide those together, and then you can tell them, well, it looks to me like you're spending about a third of your turnover on acquiring these customers. Now, the good news is that there is efficiency in all of that. You know, there is waste in all of that. So you can very quickly bring that figure down. But when people start to think about it and understand it in that way, then they can start to say, okay, this is a serious thing. It's 30% of our turnover. It's a third of what we're doing, and we should be doing this much more effectively. So one of my customers, it's kind of a commoditized product. They're a metal stockholder. So I don't get involved in the sales. I don't understand. I don't know what the sales values are, but we are delivering him inquiries for around £6. So whenever he says to me, you're just there living in Bali and you're not actually doing any work and blah, 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 then I can say, well, you've had X number of leads at £6 per lead. And, you know, what is the value of your sales this month? And then he says, all right, Martin, you're right. Have a great day. I'll catch you another time. But for me, this is how you overcome the challenges. If you're a small business, you need to think about it in those terms. It may never have occurred to you that you're going to need to do marketing and sales, find, win, and keep customers profitably. But that is essentially what being in business is about. And if you're managing clients, the sooner you can get them to understand that, the happier you will be. And if you are working for a boss, then the sooner you can get him to understand that, then the happier you will be. So what you need to do is you need to look at the value of your sales, and then you need to look at all of your costs and your profit margin. And it's not really a question of what's good value, is actually what can I afford to spend on generating these leads or these sales. So the question kind of works around the other way, but start by knowing that the benchmark is 30% of your turnover. Now, I'm not doing that. I would love to be doing that. I would love to be spending 30% of my clients' money, but I'm not doing anything like that. So clearly you can bring that figure down if you're acute about what you do and how you do it. And we have why do I say weights? Because I'm talking about an effective marketing company. I have trebled the income of the turnover of one of my customers, and we're spending around 5%. So we're essentially doing 6 times better than most people. But people should get ready for the idea that actually the cost of this is a third of what they turn over. And anything below that is a bonus. I got carried away then, didn't I?
It's a very exhaustive answer, but I think it was warranted, because there's a lot of stuff in there, and I think you're touching on some really interesting things, because it's about understanding the investment. A lot of people, perhaps when they start off, they see marketing as it's a cost, but it's something that needs to be seen as an investment in your business, and looking at, like you say, what can we afford to do today, and then gradually finding a way to generate leads that actually that become it becomes something that allows the business to grow in without feeling like this is just we're wasting money. Obviously, nobody wants to feel like their lead generation doesn't generate anything. But perhaps sometimes it's a bit of, you have to start somewhere, and you have to kind of start investing in it, look at what actually works, and then go from there and test and try again, and test and try again.
Exactly, yeah. And this is what I say to people, is it's like, I used to do this presentation about marketing strategy, and it's like everyone wants to get to Rio for the carnival in your business. You want to be successful, and it's about how you do that. And this is why I talk about time and energy and money. If you haven't got very much money, you're going to be walking to Rio. If you've got a bit of money and not very much time, then you might get on a boat. If you've got lots of money and no time, then you'll be flying first class. But it's going to happen like that. So if I were a one-man band and I took my own advice, I'm not saying that I always do, but I would invest a third of my time in making sure that people know that I exist, know what it is that I offer, understand the value that I deliver, and are interested in talking to me about that. I would absolutely do that. I'm not actually very interested in taking on new clients at the moment, so I don't. But if I were a one-man band, like, that's what the success of your business depends on. It depends on you finding it and winning and keeping customers profitably. And if you're not investing in that, then unfortunately, it's going to make being successful much harder.
Yeah, I get that. And it depends what, like you were saying, about the value of your proposition and value of the sale. If you're selling high ticket items and experiences and maybe consultancy, things that you wouldn't necessarily need to make more than a handful of sales a month, compared to if you're selling things at volume. There's obviously a completely different approach needed. You might need a much larger volume of leads to get to your sales targets if you're selling lower priced services or items. But in general, how do you feel about, there's a lot of trends around personalization and being super targeted and targeting a smaller number, to perhaps invest more money into a smaller number of people to try and convert more of those for the same value as converting a smaller number of a larger volume of leads?
Yeah, well, what I say is, if you're targeting everyone, you're not actually targeting anyone. If your marketing is that generic, then it's not going to land, it's not going to resonate with anyone. So absolutely, you have to be targeted about what you do, and you have to consider your value proposition. How are you going to add value to their life? Because the truth is, in 2020, everyone has access to Google. Nobody actually has problems anymore. So you have to really be able to deliver value in people's lives. If they have a problem, they'll go to Google and they'll get it fixed, you know. So you have to have that really strong value proposition and a really strong offer. So if you can imagine, it's what you have to consider is, if you're talking to your prospect, what could you give them today that they couldn't possibly say no to? You know, and if you can deliver an offer on that level, then they won't be saying no to you. You know, it's as simple as that. So beyond kind of the lead generation mechanism, it's like how your salespeople will then engage with those people. Like if the salesperson's picking up the phone and saying, you know, I'm going to do this for you today, and the person can't say no, then they're going to convert all of those leads. And I think that's the other thing that's important to me about conversion, is that everyone thinks conversion is about closing a sale, when actually there's lots of steps on the road to getting that conversion. You know, there's getting the time on the phone, there's getting the time face-to-face, potentially there's getting the opportunity to present and to propose. So all of these steps are little conversions on the way. What I would say about having low value items is that the lower value, hopefully you've got the margin to do marketing on it, but the lower value items is, if you consider, like, if you're generating leads for lower value items, then it's going to be much harder to make a profit on those. If 30% of that turnover is going on employing a salesperson to pick up the phone or go and present to these people, then that doesn't really work at that level. And there was something else that you said that offended me a little bit, and I can't remember what it was now, so I can't be that offended. What was it? I can't remember. It's okay.
But you do a lot of work with your videos, for example. You talk a lot about jargon and really kind of trying to get under the skin of marketing jargon and all the terminology that we love to use. And I by the way, I'd like to kind of invite all those looking at this video, check out the YouTube channel, the Effective Marketing Company. The YouTube channel's got like a whole series of What the Bleep, which is kind of getting to grips with all that, the jargon and the terminology. And I think that's an important part as well, of kind of really being straight about what is it that we're trying to achieve here. You know, let's not bury it under words that don't necessarily mean anything. And I think that also ties into the lead generation needs to have a really strong message. You need to have your messaging right. And it's kind of like what you were saying as well, targeting people is about understanding how you can meet those needs and explaining how you do it, and explaining what the customer's experience is going to be, and really kind of enticing people in. So copy and messaging is super important in all of that mix.
I think it's worse than that. I think it's not that. What do I think? I think we've already got a situation where people don't understand what marketing is and they need it. You know, this is what is going to, like, sales and marketing is what's going to make your business successful. And if you don't believe me, then look at the biggest brands in the world. They're spending 1/3 of their turnover on sales and marketing. That's what they're doing. That's how they've got to be successful. So we've got a thing, marketing and sales, that nobody understands and everybody needs. Now, you and I as marketers make that situation worse by coming up with all of this jargon, all of this nonsense. Like, we're not taking the trouble to understand the challenges they're facing in their lives and how we can address those. We're burying it under all of this nonsense so that we can charge them a bit more and then never really be in a position to understand what's going on or challenge us. So it fails. So in London, apparently, the average lifespan of a digital marketing customer is 3 months. Like 3 months. What can you achieve for anyone in 3 months? So clearly what's going on is these customers are turning up. And I often think it's a bit like gym membership, where, you know, when they come to you, they're all excited and they want to be successful and they're going to do it. And then 3 weeks later, they'd rather stay at home and eat cake. You know, it's kind of like that. So the customers are like that in the first instance, but then the people who provide the services are not delivering the value. They're not getting the opportunity to deliver the value, because those poor customers, those poor people who just want to be successful in their business, get sick within 3 months of what they're being told. You know, so it's a real issue in marketing, and this is why I'm producing those videos, because when I ran my business, I pitched over and over and over again. We invoiced 1,000 different companies. Lord knows how many companies I pitched. And it was the same thing over and over and over again. You get towards talking to people about SEO, and you might be the 5th or 6th person through the door, and they are literally telling you, you people are full of shit. Do you know what I mean? It's like, so it fails. So this is an issue where marketing, in-house marketers, agency marketers are failing the marketing business. We're marketers. We should understand what you need to do is know people's problems, come up with solutions to those problems and fix them. And instead what we do is the easy thing, which is we hide behind reams and reams and reams of jargon that nobody understands, nobody particularly believes. And that's why, part of the reason that people don't have any faith in marketing. And it sickens me, and that's why I'm making the videos.
Yeah, I can sense the passion in there. But no,
yes.
I totally agree, because you can't challenge something that you don't understand, and you can't sort of, you can't see the value of it either, I think, unless you're talking the same language. So
these marketers think, oh, I'm being so clever, you don't understand me, you can't challenge me. And people are, okay, yeah, good, you're fired. It's like, it doesn't work for anyone. It really doesn't. And I'm politically, I'm a revolutionary communist. Do you know what I mean? I really believe that society could be much more equal and all of that stuff. But I live in capitalism, and I understand how capitalism works. People need to put food on the table, and lots of people are doing that with their businesses, with their small businesses. And the thing that's missing isn't accessible to them, because the people who provide it have buried it under heaps of, I swore once already, didn't I? I resist the temptation to swear again.
It's fine, we're in a safe space.
We're in a safe space. Good.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's that. We ended on a nice and positive note there, talking about how marketing is full of bullshit, which is, it's fine, because for a lot of companies, that's actually how they feel about the whole thing. It's like, it's hard to understand, it's hard to achieve results with it, etc. And that's our challenge, I suppose, as marketers, whether we're in-house or outside, or doing sort of marketing as a service. I think it's really important just to help companies understand the process and understand the result that they can expect, and be really clear on what they need to do internally to make the most of their investment as well.
Yes. And if we can end on a positive, if people are running their small businesses, or they're running marketing departments, or whatever they are doing, people need to understand that marketing is actually much more achievable. It is nothing like as difficult as you imagine to generate leads and sales and profit for your business. It's nothing like as difficult as people are making it seem. And literally, if you start to do some marketing and you have some expectation of what you're hoping to see, then that will have an effect on your business. That is the only thing that can have an effect on your business and make you successful in the way that you want to be. So I think that's more positive.
That's a good place to finish, I think. Definitely.
Good.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm going to obviously keep monitoring this, the comment section, for any additional questions that might come in, and I'll tag you if you don't see it, to perhaps we can approach those questions afterwards as they come in. But for now, I would just want to thank you so much for sharing your insight, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavours, and enjoy your
living the dream. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Awesome.
Okay, cool. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Brilliant. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to us as well, to have people who've been there and who know what they're talking about. So thank you, and thanks to you guys who've tuned in, and whether you're watching it live or on demand, really appreciate you checking us out, and get involved, get in the conversation, let us know about your lead generation challenges as well. It'd be interesting to know. But for now, take care, have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you again soon.
Super cool. Thanks, Elsa.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.